Hello, everyone. This is Alicia Zari, and we're back for Chapter 7 of Teaching to Empower, Taking Action to Foster Student Agency, Self-Confidence, and Collaboration. Today, we're going to be focusing on Chapter 7, Self-Advocacy. Some key topics include the definition and its various forms, opportunities for self-advocacy in the classroom, ways to help students advocate for themselves while also respecting others, and practical approaches to developing self-advocacy in our students. When we look at the definition of self-advocacy, some people might think back to that chapter 1, self-empowerment, and just think of these bold leaders that speak their mind and do things for a cause. But a lot of times, self-advocacy is a natural piece of our everyday lives, asking for help, sharing our ideas or our strategies, expressing a need, sharing our desires. And so in the classroom, we have a lot of room to be able to foster this as an everyday practice so that it's not just this big thing, but building skills throughout the school day. We have students that come into our classrooms with strong self-advocacy skills. They know when to raise their hand. They feel confident coming into the classroom and expressing in different forms what they need, what they desire, what they think, yet also are respectful of the classroom community. Other students might come into our classroom a little bit nervous or might be unaware of when's the right timing, or how do I express this, or what language do I use, or how do I do this effectively. Similarly, we have students that have come in with a lot of self-confidence to express their ideas, but it doesn't always fit in the classroom community. They might accidentally or intentionally blurt out, "I did that too. Oh, let me tell you about my weekend." We see this a lot in our primary classrooms. They may not be able to read the room as well, and seeing that when they contribute their ideas, they might have cut someone else off from their discussion that they were starting. So an easy way is to use literature. For example, in a primary classroom or through Project Cornerstone lessons, I've seen things like this. My mouth is a volcano. Being able to hear it from someone else first through a book to be able to have awareness of the way we share things. So our question today is really, how do we promote self-advocacy that is productive for students as both individuals and as a class, while distinguishing the negative or destructive behaviors that also can form from self-advocacy? One of the simplest ways for laying the foundation for self-advocacy is embedding some choice and voice. We see this often through choice boards, different ways that students can show what they know or demonstrate mastery. We see this also in learning stations when students maybe aren't in a rotation, structured environment, but are allowed to choose which station they either would like to work on or need more practice with, or maybe they adjust how much time they spend at that station. We see students needing support with how to express their needs. And so a common scaffold you'll see is providing visual cues, or even sometimes these clue cards. If they're not sure how to come up or the right timing, they can point. I need something, I'm feeling hungry, or a phrase we use is flip our lid, or I need to calm down. I think I'm going to go take a break. We also teach self-advocacy by fostering structured activities for them to be able to express their ideas, express their desires. So a common one with opinion writing or on big topics is structuring debates, whether it's a simulation and students are given a role or an opinion to then debate, whether that's their opinion or not. We used to do this in like history, debate this side, debate that side. Sometimes it's just as simple as, should we wear uniforms, or should students have homework, or what meal, should we have chocolate milk at the lunchroom? Things that are very close to home with the developmental age of students. And one of the fun ways was to physically get into the classroom and have them stand on a continuum. If you strongly agree, you're on this wall. If you strongly disagree, you're on that wall. If you agree, disagree, or are sort of moderate, stand closer to the middle. And teaching them how to advocate for those ideas by being self-aware and thinking about how to communicate that. Other opportunities for advocacy in the K-12 classroom include simple things like routines. You've probably seen YouTube videos about it, but the way that some students and teachers greet each other in the mornings. Maybe it's a fist bump, maybe it's a high five, and the students tap which one they would like that day on the wall, and that's how they enter the classroom. I've also seen where some teachers get so creative that they have a different secret handshake with each student as they leave the classroom for the day. Maybe it's about students collaboratively creating the classroom design. Where should we put the desks? How would it help to make small groups? Maybe if you have flexible seating, how do we monitor? How do we manage? How do we share our resources? And oftentimes, at different stages of K-12, you'll have opportunities for a classroom council, a morning meeting, a restorative justice circle, ways for students to help problem solve, and also express their desires or speak on behalf of someone else. Like we talked about earlier, the idea of self-advocacy starts from understanding our own ideas, our own needs, our own desires, while also still respecting those of others, and knowing that we are in a shared community. You'll see that when we teach students about self-advocacy, we can support students with balancing both the assertiveness as well as the receptivity. So you can see here that being assertive could be that debate of learning how to disagree respectfully, or how do I articulate my idea or defend or modify my idea. Similarly, when I'm being receptive, how do I show good listening, making eye contact, observing emotions, kind of the reading the room, reading people, learning how to do those skills, whether they are something that we do well or something that we need to learn or practice. Here are a few examples of some students that might come into our classroom. The first example is a fifth grader named Daniel, who rarely engages in self-advocacy behaviors. He comes into our classroom and is pretty shy, maybe is embarrassed to express his emotion, gives up easily in conflicts, maybe doesn't set an opinion until he sees what all of his friends say. In contrast, we have a different fifth grader named Elsa, who is quite self-assured, who is strong in her advocacy skills, but actually quite ineffective. Maybe is that my mouth is a volcano. I know my mind. I refuse to quit. I will speak my mind and what I think is true, but maybe isn't as receptive, misreads or ignores the cues from others, seeks immediate gratification, is resistant to compromise. And so what we need is, if we consider the personality differences among students in the classroom, we realize that the developmental paths they must take to self-advocacy inevitably differ. Again, our students are individuals. They each come with unique strengths, goals, needs. Some need to become more assertive in their ability to share their perspectives with others, while others may have to become more observant and receptive to those around them. The ultimate destination, however, is the same: achieving just the right balance that simultaneously allows for both self-awareness and social adeptness. So as we think about supporting students' skill building, we can support students' listening skills. We can support students' communication skills with expressing ideas. How do I express my ideas in math through a math talk? How do I express my ideas in writing, whether that is for any subject? How do I support my ideas? How do I use my voice to express a choice or a preference? Similarly, how do I express my needs? Maybe it's as simple as asking for materials, asking for help, learning when's the right time to turn to speak. Oftentimes, in and out of the classroom, it's how do I jump into a conversation? How do I make or be a friend? How do I create boundaries for my own emotional safety? How do I speak up for a friend who I know is going through a conflict? And lastly, desires. How do I express a desire? How do I take on a leadership role? How do I mediate a conflict? How do I facilitate a discussion? These are all things that students might need support with in self advocacy. And it might be something that you feel confident embedding into regular curriculum, um, or you might lean on extra support. There are a lot of different social emotional programs out there. As I mentioned before, our district, Sunnyvale School District, has a few, one of them being the Second Step program, which includes videos and weekly activities and discussions to go through a lot of those things about self advocacy and self regulation and many of the typical developmental um, stages that students need at a grade level. You might have, Project Cornerstone or other ways to be able to share, or you might embed it into book clubs. Either way, just like any other subject area we have, or similar to language learning, if you think about student development from emerging to expanding to bridging, self advocacy also is on a continuum. So wherever students are is okay, but our goal is not to leave them there. It is to help them through thoughtful and meaningful instruction and opportunities to support them into integrating those assertive and receptive skills in their daily lives. And lastly, understanding what one needs and communicating honestly to others takes both self awareness and courage. And fostering student self awareness and promoting student courage and teacher self awareness and courage is what many of us believe will help us really build our citizenship, both in our local and larger communities. And that is chapter 7.